Hey guys, it's Tobin. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could, please subscribe here and subscribe to the Tobin and Leroy show, which is on the Miami 560 WQAM YouTube page. We're live every weekday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Dwyane Wade going into the Hall of Fame this week. Heat Nation, it is a celebration this week as their GOAT is entering the Hall of Fame. Obviously deserving of this honor with all the accolades that he has, kind of the last pinnacle of his career with the championships, the rafters, the jersey going off into the rafters. Still waiting on the city to put up that street sign. I mean, that would be nice. You know, Miami, they really know how to do something. We'll do an official proclamation and we won't put the sign up. Ace's job, everybody. Statue. I mean, that's got to come to at some point. You would think a statue's got to go up at some point. But I think this is going to be really, really cool. I mean, it's not only going to be a celebration of Dwyane, but I think all the organization going up there, getting to honor him and celebrate this. And it's been cool seeing these moments. They've gotten to do this with Chris Bosh. In a lot of ways, they got to do it with Ray Allen, too, because Ray Allen was kind of a Hall of Fame player without a home, the way that the Celtics were treating him, the way that, you know, there is no Supersonics, you know, the Bucks, like there wasn't a huge tie there. So it really was a Heat celebration with Ray as well. They've had Tim Hardaway. So it has been really cool seeing a lot of these guys enter the Hall, but D-Wade's different. I mean, D-Wade is your franchise GOAT. He is, in a lot of ways, I explain to people, you know, who don't understand it with D-Wade. I'm like, yeah, you know how everybody is obsessed with Michael Jordan? Picture that. He's the Heat fans' Michael Jordan. That's what he is. He's that great. He made a lot of people fall in love with basketball. He's the reason for everything elite that happened with the franchise, from, you know, their first championship, Shaq wanting to play with him. It's funny because, you know, I almost feel like what it's been dictated recently has been kind of like, oh, D-Wade got so fortunate that he got all these guys with him, not acknowledging that they want to play with him. You know, like it's a lot like, you know, it kind of feels a lot like with what's going on with Bam, where like all these great players, they do want to play with Bam, and that's the big attraction. Not that it's not with Jimmy, but, you know, Bam is just like, oh, everybody looks at me like, man, I kind of want to play with that guy. It seems like a lot of fun. You know, with D-Wade, it was like, oh, this rookie bursts onto the scene and is winning playoff series immediately and hitting game winners. And Shaq's like, all right, if I'm not going to be with Kobe, I'll be with basically the younger, the younger, more athletic version of that. And let's see if I can get one more championship before Kobe does, which he did. And then, of course, we know the friendship with him and LeBron. You know, LeBron wasn't winning. D-Wade already won. And he welcomes him into his franchise. And when it's not like that was this, it's not like this was, you know, that they got a lot of backlash for that. And it's not like guys wanted to give up the prestige. Guys wanted to give up the money. Guys weren't taking less money. You know, look now. Guys are not taking less money. No, who's the guy who's taking a discount in the league right now? D-Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh taking less than the max to all sign together. Who's doing that these days? Like, nobody is doing that in the NBA. So it's really, really cool. So many great memories of this guy. You know, we all know the ones I think that all stick out in our mind between, you know, you think about the 06 comeback, you think not going out like this, you think of, you know, the torturous games that he's had against the Knicks where he was just slaying them, you know, after. It was funny because like the Knicks were always this battle with the Heat and there was always this rivalry with the Heat, right? And then Dwyane Wade came along and that wasn't a thing anymore. You know, Dwyane Wade would just go out there slaying them every chance that he could get, whether it be double nickel performance, whether it be Danilo Gallinari bloodying up him and, you know, Eric Spoelstra saying after the game that the game plan was, we're in the bonus, get the out of Dwyane's way. Like that was the way that, I mean, I remember, I'll never forget that. It was one of the games I was first covering for 790. And I was like, whoa, young coach is just dropping the F-bombs out there. Hilarious. But it was a great game plan. A great game plan. I remember being there for, I was sitting the media section. There's a media section that's above Uptown, if you guys can believe that. Like everybody thinks the media has great seats, but like there's a section above Uptown where the catwalk is. And it was a huge matchup in town. And I was there to do, I don't remember if I was there to even cover home or road, because sometimes I would cover home and sometimes I would cover the road locker room for big time matchups when LeBron was in town. And that was a big time matchup. And D Wade dunked it right on Anderson Varejão's head And I remember just seeing like this kind of happen like from above, and the way that he rose up the building, you just heard this gladiator like roar all the way from the bottom to the top. That was crazy. And then, like, obviously getting to see every angle and hear the call of it from Marv Albert. Insane. I mean, like, the big three eras between, the chemistry him and LeBron had with the lobs. Like, everybody's like, oh, these guys, I don't know if they're going to play together. But those guys on the break, how unstoppable, what a show they were together. It was just unbelievable. Unbelievable what they were able to do. And yeah, D-Wade had to deal with some serious knee pain. But the way that, the way guys miss stuff now these days, and the way D-Wade was looked upon as such a pariah because he had sore knees and was playing through it is pretty crazy. Because you think about, like, with Chris Bosh out, Chris Bosh honestly had the most serious playoff injury among all of them. He missing rounds of playoffs because of his abdominal muscle. And LeBron and D-Wade are basically having, with them and Spo starting Dexter Pittman one game, and they're trying to figure this thing out, and they just, like, completely obliterate Indiana, and take them out and slay them. And it was so incredible, watching that and getting the privilege to watch that. And, I don't know. Like, it's funny. I was talking, I don't know if, like, one day anybody's ever going to is ever going to be able to top that, because it's hard. It's hard to win a championship. I think we've seen now with the Miami Heat, we've seen them now come so damn close, and so many thrilling memories that Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and their run together has provided. But it's hard. It's hard to get over the top, man. It's hard. You need a little luck. You need things to bounce your way. And sometimes you need to be able to overcome even adversity and give a little bit more. And I think that's what Dwyane was always able to show in his career. And, I remember after the big three broke up, and, you think about the team never really got together because of Chris Bosh's injury, and they brought in Goran Dragic, and we were all, like, so hyped about what that was going to bring to the table for this team. And then, like, minutes later, you find out Chris Bosh isn't going to play basketball anymore, and you're like, damn, that team. You feel like that team could have done some things. Then the breakup happens. Hassan Whiteside gets his money. Tyler Johnson gets his money. They have this pipe dream of Kevin Durant, and the relationship breaks. And it felt like it just felt like the Heat wasn't whole. Like, there were cool moments. Like, we all like that. And I think one of the things that he gave this franchise is that, yeah, people still did care. People were really hurt that him and the Heat couldn't work it out, that the Heat were cheapskates with him. And especially, like, you think back now, it's so crazy because, looking back on that breakup and not wanting to give Dwyane Wade the money back then, D-Wade was 34 before he left the Heat. So he's going to his year 35 season with Chicago. And, like, now you think about, like, man, look at the money that they're going to be willing to pay Jimmy Butler, possibly Damian Lillard at that same age. And they weren't willing to do it with Dwyane back then. And it wasn't like, and obviously the money's much more crazy now, but I'm just talking salary cap wise. It's pretty bananas. Because even when D-Wade came back, and when he was traded back from Cleveland, there's a couple things. Remember, he goes and plays with Chicago, basically recruits Jimmy Butler to the Heat. Then they release him, and there's this choice he has. And this one was, like, the only one I was like, man, I can't believe that he chose Cleveland of all places. They had the choice of, would you come back to Miami or would you go to Cleveland? And he chose to go to Cleveland and play with LeBron again. And it was like Superman without its cape. I mean, it was horrifying to see that. But that joy that you had when he came back, it just felt, I don't know. I mean, like, I remember we were on the air finding out the news that he was being traded back to the Miami Heat. And, you see him with that number 3 again, and it was like he just could summon it again. And he just gave you those moments, from purple shirt guy shutting his ass up to, his last season with that incredible buzzer beater against the Warriors. Like, the guy just always had this propensity to summon moments. His final game at home, killing it against the Sixers. Jimmy Butler's there watching the way that the fans are treating him on his goodbye. He jumps up on the table but doesn't make it, and he says that was tragic. And then closes it out with a handled loss to Brooklyn, but he finishes with a triple-double, a pass to Udonis Haslem. The guy just always had the flair for the dramatic. Always had the flair for the dramatic. And he just made you care, man. He just made you care. And so it's why I get crazy anytime anybody tries to put his legacy down as it's anything less than what it should be, which is just one of the greatest players to ever do this. And I mean, amongst the elite, amongst the icons that are there, this guy was so damn special, was so dynamic, was such a terror, flying in with a block and making game-changing plays, lifting his teammates up, making his teammates better. I mean, go look at the roster that he had the years after the years leading up to the big three. The fact that those teams, made playoffs and, were able to even look any kind of respectable because he was one of the best players on the planet. Had a scoring championship in there, and you could have argued that he deserved to be MVP that year. So I'm so happy for him, and just a really, really good dude, a really good dude that's always just been really awesome to interact with. It was cool towards the end of his career, getting a chance to do some interviews with him and having some good back and forth with him. Is honestly surreal on a lot of levels because of, just how much I enjoyed what he did on the court, but was just such a good dude off of it and just did a ton of great community work, which is why, Mayor Suarez, it would be nice if that sign would, get the hell up there already. I mean, it's been 3 years since your damn proclamation. I wanted to play you some sound here because I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent there. I wasn't expecting to. I ultimately wanted to do this video to get to Pat Riley. Pat Riley spoke on D Wade and talked about his legacy, and this is a little bit of what Pat Riley had to say on D Wade.
First of all, talent-wise, he had a different kind of talent than LeBron. LeBron was athletically gifted. He was strong. He's 250, 260. He's an entirely different kind of player, almost like when Magic Johnson came into the game, at 6'9" as a point guard. And so while you can argue whether or not LeBron or Dwyane, were better and who was better, as a Heat player, Dwyane is the greatest player ever who put on a uniform with us. LeBron was here for 4 years and gave us a tremendous lift and helped Dwyane achieve what he wanted to achieve. But over the body of work over 17 years here in Miami, Dwyane's the greatest player who ever played for the Heat. And that's not an insult to LeBron. That's just because of his longevity and the short term that LeBron was here.
Yeah, the fact that that's ever even become an argument on things that I've had this recently with people, people who are there's been some people who are new to the Heat organization, surprisingly. And they were like, oh, no. I mean, LeBron's the greatest player to ever play for the Heat. And I'm like, I understand what you're trying to say because LeBron's arguably the greatest player ever, arguably. And you could argue that his best years were in Miami. Athletic prime, best player in the world, best he was on both ends, most efficient he's ever played. I get that, but again, it's like it was so quick. Like if you just think about it in a 16-year career for D Wade, LeBron's peak was amazing, but D Wade just kept doing it and didn't have all of the best guys, didn't have always, he didn't always have the great sidekicks that LeBron didn't have 2 Hall of Famers playing with him at the same time, 3 Hall of Famers playing with him at the same time. Sometimes he had Jamario Moon, all respect. So to me, it's knowing all the mostly great elite But even like the years that were lean weren't that lean with Dwyane Wade. You know, even in those years, like we still have the iconic. The This Is My House was not in a big 3 year. It wasn't on a 2006 championship team, but it's maybe his most iconic shot. You know, the only thing that sucks with Pat was like, yeah, the breakup sucked. It sucked, you know, and it did feel like feelings got in the way. It felt like, you know, Pat took the breakup with LeBron so badly. And, you know, I remember the summer with like Wade and LeBron were like on a boat together and Snapchat and all that stuff. And I just think feelings got in the way in the wrong spot. And yeah, it sucks. Like it was great getting D Wade back, but like the fact that he wore another jersey, like, here's the thing that's crazy about it. The fact that D Wade left the Heat and even still recruited for the Heat and got them Jimmy Butler. You know, so that's the thing that is so special about him. You know, it's like, it's not only that the guy was the reason Shaquille O'Neal wanted to play here. It's not only that the reason that Chris Bosh and D Wade wanted to be here, but then after he left and feelings were really, really in a bad spot. You know, I remember having D Wade's photographer Bobby Matalas on. He did the D Wade article, and I remember him talking about like going back and reflecting on the breakup, and he was like, "Yeah, he's like, I've never seen him like that pissed at Pat." And you know that it's all gone, and that stuff's gone now. I think everything's cool, but you know, like it's one of those where you just like, you wish it never would have happened. But even that had happened. And the fact that D Wade still went out and recruited Jimmy Butler and was just like, you should go to Miami. That's the place for you. And then Jimmy Butler's come here and just had this incredible 4-year run with the Heat. Incredible 4-year run with the Heat that was spurned on by D Wade. And, you know, and I guess that's why, I guess those are the types of things that'll just like, that don't translate to the stupid NBA Legion memes of this versus that. It's just, you can't quantify that. You can't put anything on that everybody was just like, you know, that the guy's just been such a key for getting everything, for getting and recruiting and turning and getting a lot of people down here and wanting to play. And yeah, I'm not saying that Pat and Mickey and Spo and Andy and Nick, I'm not saying that those guys don't have their hand in it, because they are huge as to the professionalism, the structure, the you know, the continuity. That's all very important. That's like, that is huge as to why not only stars want to come here, but the development of guys you've never heard of. That's huge too. But you know, for the big pops on things, for the elite, for the real, you know, jaw-dropping stuff, man, if you don't think D Wade is reason number one for a lot of that stuff, I don't know what to tell you. Pretty wild. But here's a little bit more from Pat on D Wade. This is him on the breakup.
When he left, it was like a cooling off period. And it wasn't something that was born out of petulance on his part. Well, I'm just going to show you. I mean, he got a great deal with Chicago for 2 years. And he decided to leave. And when he left, there were some hard feelings on both sides, but they weren't lethal. But I was sad to see him go. I was upset that he went. I knew we could work something out, but we didn't. We did not work it out the way that he wanted it to be worked out, and that's our fault.
Yeah. But it's going to be a big time reunion. UD was talking about this with me at Bam's camp, that he thinks that, you know, it's going to be a great moment to have D Wade himself, Zoe, Pat, the whole crew, you know, Spo, the Arrisons, all of them, all there in one room. Bam's, I believe, going to be there too. So like, they have that whole thing. And, you know, and even with Spo, like his comeback with Spo, like they've talked about, the relationship was even stronger on the comeback. So there was some good that came out of it. I'm not, it wasn't, the departure didn't lead to just all bad stuff, but it is one of those things like, you wish it never happened, and you are lucky in some ways that it did bear the fruit of some great stuff. And And I can't wait to hear that speech, man. I can't wait to see his guy Allen Iverson, bring him up there. That's going to be really cool as well.
You don't ever think that somebody is going to make it to this level. You just don't. I mean, did I think he was a Hall of Fame material? Absolutely. You know, did I think he was more Hall of Fame material after the 4 world championships, the efforts to get there and the winning 2 and winning 3 titles? Definitely. He was earmarked for the Hall of Fame after being a 3-time world champion and a great player in this league. So, you know, as a coach, I just say he's a Hall of Famer, and usually everybody else doesn't. It's not agreeing with me. I think we all know that this guy is leading himself to that pinnacle one day, and he was a first ballot choice, so everybody else is thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's taking his rightful place, and then also on top of it, you know, this isn't a pro basketball Hall of Fame. Not that his pro resume isn't good enough, but like you also think about gold medalist, part of the Redeem team, which is a really cool documentary, by the way. Part of the Redeem team, was a monster on that team, especially coming off the bench, and on top of that, you know, as a kid, he made the Final Four with Marquette. So I can't wait, man. Goosey's galore. Congrats to D Wade, and looking forward to that very, very much. Can't wait for that ceremony.